Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to another episode of Sree's global daily show around the COVID-19 crisis. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism. It's my honor to convene this international conversation about three different crises we're trying to understand here in America: the health crisis, the financial crisis, and the racial inequality crisis. Today, we're going to examine one portion of American society that brings all three of those into stark awareness for the rest of the world, and that is the US prison system. Today, we'll be joined by two guests: Otis Johnson, who has spent 40 years in prison, and after he came out of prison, is searching for his family and is doing some amazing things to help society now. We'll also be joined by Professor Shaheen Pasha, who's co-founder of Prison Journalism Project at Penn State University. You'll meet them in just a minute. Please tell us where you're watching from. Please tag your friends. This is a very important conversation, and we need your help to get the word out. Just hit retweet right now or share so everyone can join us. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Please tell us where you're watching from, and please share. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and on Twitter. On all of these platforms, you can share, you can tag. You know someone who's watching who could benefit from learning more about the US prison system and everything that's happening right now in America. Before I bring on our guests, I want to make sure that we are able to pay some bills by saying hello and thanking our sponsors. Our first sponsor is Art & Co. Get involved in the world's largest online art auction, fundraising for COVID-19 victims. 31 separate artists are participating in this, and 6 charities that will benefit greatly from the art auction. So please go to artandco.net right now, artandco.net, and please do support Art & Co. and this very important fundraising opportunity. Even if you're not into art, you know somebody who is, and tag them or share it with them. And our other sponsor that we would like to thank is Muckrack Academy. And they're allowing me to do a free course called Fundamentals of Social Media for journalists, PR professionals, and everyone. And it's a free certification course that would benefit anyone who's on the internet, not just journalists or public relations professionals. It's free, it starts in 2 weeks, and you will get a free certificate at the end of the program. Please go to mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social, take a screenshot or take a photo with your camera and share it with your friends. More than 3,500 people around the world have already signed up. I've learned a lot by working with my friend Linda Bernstein to put this together. So we're very grateful to Muckrack Academy for making that possible. So first, let me bring on our guests and have them say hello to you. First, I'm going to have Shaheen Pasha come on screen. She is a professor and founder of the Prison Journalism Project out of Penn State University. Hello, Shaheen.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for being here. I know Monday nights are busy in the best of times, and I think during COVID, people are even more busy, right?
Yes, but you know what? This is a topic that I'm really passionate about, and I'm really happy to be here.
Tell us, how is the family? I always ask, how's the family? How are you doing?
The family is good. All 3 kids are in theory downstairs. They've been banished from coming upstairs. So I apologize in advance if the 5-year-old starts banging on the door.
All right. Well, that, do you remember when the BBC interview, somebody came running in and that was like laughed at? Now it's completely routine when that kind of thing happens, isn't it?
Yes. Still don't want it to happen, so fingers crossed it doesn't. But yes, I just give that little disclaimer right then and there.
Great. Well, thank you. Now you've done your part, so this is good. Folks, you're watching our conversation about the US prison system. Shaheen Pasha is a professor of journalism, and she's going to talk about her project on prison journalism and why she's doing it and what she has learned in the process. Before I bring on Mr. Otis Johnson, who was in prison for 40 years and will tell his story, before that, we want to bring our friend who introduced us to Otis to say hello to all of us. Hemant Wadhwani is a wonderful do-gooder in New Jersey. I say he's the most usefully busy and wonderfully helpful person that I know, and I know a lot of people, but he's really amazing, totally selfless, never asked for any publicity. I've never put him on camera myself because he never wants to come on, but for Otis, he did. So please welcome Hemant Wadhwani.
Hello, everybody. How are you? Thank you, Sree.
How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you.
Tell us where you are and how you're doing.
Yes, I'm in Bergen County, New Jersey, in Elmwood Park, and we're all doing well here. I think I really haven't gone out much, which is unusual during this COVID time because I live with elder parents. So I just been, my seva has been mostly virtual through the phone.
And seva means service, and you've given your life to multiple kinds of service, and we're so grateful for that. Tell us why you wanted me to meet Otis, who I've spent some time with since yesterday, and we've really gotten to know each other. Tell us why you wanted me to meet him.
Well, you know, we run a seva in Harlem, a feeding program every Wednesday night, and one of our most dedicated volunteers, more than 10 years ago, said that he learned everything to serve from the community from Otis Johnson. They both were in prison together, but Otis used to write to him daily letters and say, you better be serving the community, you better be serving the community. So I first actually met Otis by bringing our friend Gary, who is our most dedicated volunteer, to visit Otis a couple of times in prison because many people in Manhattan don't have cars. So I wound up being the chauffeur to bring him to meet his friend in prison. And that's when the friendship with Otis began. And when the first day when he came out, we were his friends, and he came and served with us on the streets of Harlem. Until this day, he still serves with us every Wednesday night, vegetarian meals.
And what did you see in Otis and Gary that you wanted everybody to know?
I saw a lot of selflessness. Their whole mission in society is to improve community, to help the youth that come out of prison. And Otis specifically is trained in martial arts and meditation. He did all his skills and learning as a youth at the Shaolin Temple in China, Hong Kong. So we were bringing those skills to the inner city youth before all this happened with the run-in of the law.
And he will explain his story, but do you want to tell it to us as well?
Yeah, I mean, he still is adamant that he never committed the crime that he was implicated for, which was an attempted shooting against a cop. There are many YouTube documentaries, short documentaries out there, which show his little journey of, you know, how the police say there's a description of a black man in a tan coat, and he was the only one wearing a black tan coat. But he's adamant that he was not that individual. But we've tried connecting him with lawyers and people at the Innocent Project, but the Innocent Project is still backlogged. That we really need pro bono lawyers or law firms to step up, because there is a backlog of people out there who claim they're innocent, but the you know, just the way the criminal justice system is right now, it's very backlogged.
And that, of course, is part of the issue. One of the reasons we wanted to meet Mr. Johnson and share his story so that people can understand a little bit about how the American criminal justice system works and what we can learn from that. And we're going to show in a few minutes one of those documentaries you mentioned. We will learn from that, and we'll learn in just a minute. So let's bring on Otis, and we'll have him say hello to all of you. And I know Hemant has to leave after that, but just to understand the technology issue, you know, we think that everyone is on the internet, has all the access, and it's not always true. But Mr. Otis is very good at WhatsApp, so we're going to use WhatsApp to say hello. And Hemant, you're going to say hello to him, and we'll then let Hemant go after that. So I'm going to just bring him on here. Here he is, Mr. Otis Johnson. You can say hello, Hemant.
How are you, Otis? How you doing? Good to see you on camera.
Good to see you. Yeah, it's hard.
Very good.
The video.
I know. We're gonna train you so you can work off the laptop soon.
Oh, okay. Let the people see you.
Yeah, you're in the hands literally of the tech guru.
Okay, my brother.
Hemant, what is your message to Otis and why everyone should listen to his story right now?
Well, I think he's not he is always about the community, and he should never give up. And I think in whatever way we can do to help him, which is to train the youth coming out of prisons, which is to help with housing, which is to help with food and diet. They need a lot of mentorship. They need a lot of guidance, and we got to treat them like family when they come out of prison. Because Otis, the day one that he came out, he's been family to us, always helping us in the Satya Sai group with our sevas and always a lending hand. So all our stereotypes go down when we serve side by side together. And Otis has helped me get rid of that stereotype when we're growing up that we think, oh, he's a criminal, he's a prisoner, we should never interact with him. That we hear from our family members. But when you're on the streets with him, that will entirely change. If you don't know anything about his history and you just see him as a gentleman one-on-one, you will think this guy has never been to prison.
I hear you. All right. Hemant, I know you need to run. Thank you. How can people find you?
They can find me on, I'm on Facebook, Hemant Wadwani, Hemant K. Wadwani, so I'm out there. Yeah.
Okay. And you serve vegetarian food during non-COVID days every single Wednesday in Harlem, but Indian vegetarian cooking for the folks in Harlem, the homeless in Harlem. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, we do it at All Souls Church, which is on 88 St. Nicholas Avenue between 114 115th Street. And actually, the pastor of the church runs a prison reentry program at the same time we do the feedings. So we serve a lot of prison reentry fellows as long as a greater community.
All right. Thank you very much, Hemant, and good luck. And thank you for all you do for so many different communities. We wish you the best.
Thank you for always connecting and always being open-minded. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks. So Hemant is stepped away, but Otis is here, and Otis will be able to tell us his story in just a minute. Otis, tell us about why you like working with Hemant and serving vegetarian food in Harlem.
Okay, brother Ivan, he's very kind and generous to people, and he's almost like an uncle I had, that also worked with the community that was in the Marines with my father. Like to do things with the community, not only his own community, not the Indian community, or Buddha communities, but he likes to work with all kinds of people. He even goes to Puerto Rico to feed the homeless there, and also to help with remember they had the storm or the earthquake in different places. He goes there. He goes all over the country to help people. And my mentality is similar to what he's doing. So we can, come together as friends because we share the same thought of helping people. And when I say helping people, I'm talking about charity. I talked about you earlier. I explained to you about what is missing. Our main purpose is missing is moral consciousness. But in order to have moral consciousness, you also got to have charity. And Iman has that mentality. And I was taught that also as a young person. So that's what I see in that Iman.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We're going to just bring Shaheen on. Shaheen, who's been working with the college at Penn State University. She's been working in the prison journalism project. Tell us about that project and what you've learned working with it and why you decided to start that project.
The prison journalism project, it's sort of my life's passion. It's something that I've been working on for a few years. I started volunteering in a local jail when I was a professor at UMass Amherst, and I wanted to give back, and I wanted to actually see if my skill sets as a journalist could actually be of benefit. And I mean, the thing is, this project comes from a very personal place. I've been a reporter for almost 20 years, and I've covered a lot of legal stories. A lot of my work was legal. But in addition, I have a couple of people that I care about very deeply who are incarcerated. And I think once you become part of that, like, unfortunate kind of fraternity where you are impacted by incarceration, it really changes your whole worldview. And for me, when I had the opportunity to go in and work with incarcerated men at a local jail in Northampton, Massachusetts, I really saw the benefit of actually just prison education, and beyond that, about giving people behind bars the opportunity to tell their own stories. Because as Hemant said, there are so many stereotypes, there's so many preconceived notions about people. If somebody goes to jail or prison, society assumes, yes, they're guilty. And even if they are guilty, assumes that they're absolutely done. And that's it. That's all they're going to be defined by. And what I found with the men that I've worked with and the women I've worked with is that it's so much more than that. I mean, you have people that have committed crimes, you have people that are innocent, and they're behind bars. And to give them the opportunity to be able to tell their own stories, to be able to be educated, they're more likely to come out and do good, just like Mr. Johnson is doing. They're more likely to have that sense of charity. They're more likely to actually want to stay a narrow path. But they have to have something, they have to have something to help their brains, to help their, growth inside, and it reduces recidivism. So for me, the Prison Journalism Project came out of this desire to give men and women the opportunity to tell their own stories, to learn how to write, to learn how to have social skills, to be able to interview people. I was very fortunate. I received a night visiting Nieman fellowship from Harvard to be able to expand this program and create a textbook and go beyond that. I wound up meeting my partner while I was doing a story for Nieman Reports about the need for prison journalism. Her name is Yukari Iwatani Kane, and she is the advisor for the San Quentin News in San Quentin, California, which has a very robust media center there. So she and I actually shared a passion, and we partnered up, and then Penn State came calling, and we wound up, I wound up going from UMass to Penn State. And this January, I officially launched the Prison Journalism Project. So the Prison Journalism Project, our aim is to create a curriculum, to create a textbook, to be able to go inside and help men and women tell their stories, to learn the skill sets that are involved with journalism, with writing, with media, but also, to just be able to do it themselves through, their own types of publications, their own newsletters and newspapers. While we were in the process of doing this, COVID hit. And we really felt like this was something that everybody's isolated right now. And so many people are comparing social isolation to prison, and it's not even remotely close. And I think that it gave us an opportunity to say, all right, you know what, let's hear from the people inside what this crisis is. Let's make sure they're not forgotten. So as part of that project, we took it to the next level, and we just created a Medium page. And we created a Medium page in which we are getting submissions from all over the country, from men and women who are incarcerated or people who are incarceration impacted. And we're telling their stories about what's going on right now in the midst of this crisis. So that's what we're doing. We're hoping to expand it, make it larger. And ultimately, once everything is out there, we want to be able to go into the prisons and train people to do this.
And tell us this photograph, what are we seeing in this picture?
This photograph is actually at San Quentin, and this was in the San Quentin newsroom. And this is actually one of our advisors, because some of our advisors for the Prison Journalism Project are incarcerated. We are of the belief that the people that know the system and the people that know their experiences better than anyone are the people that are incarcerated. So this is actually Wali. He's one of the liaisons. His Marcus Henderson is his name. And he is one of our liaisons out of San Quentin. And this was me sitting there just listening. And I think that's really, really important, just listening to him explain to me the value of journalism, how he sees this project growing, and basically how he sees journalism impacting the lives of people in San Quentin.
Thank you. And we're going to talk to Otis, who's on camera with us here. For those of you just joining, this is Otis Johnson. Otis, wave so that people can see you. Otis is joining us via WhatsApp, and I apologize for the technology. This is my fault, not his. And we are using this as a way to connect so you can hear his story in just a few minutes, where we're going to do what we call a global tour, where we have people all over the world watching, so they can say hi to Otis and to Shaheen. Shaheen is Professor Pasha on Twitter, at Prof Pasha on Twitter. So everybody please follow her. She's a professor at Penn State. and she runs the Prison Journalism Project at Penn State, which is so interesting and so important at this time. She'll talk more about that in just a minute. Let's see who's watching from around the world. Let's see. Anand is watching from India, and Shubho is watching. He's asking about Tihar Jail, which is also in India. Colleen is tagging people. So she's sharing and then tagging people. Shaheen, I hope you had a chance to share with your audience on your Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for doing that. Ashok Motwani is watching from Mumbai. And Colleen says, I thought I'd already subscribed, but I hadn't. I'm your 1,000th subscriber. Yay! What do you get? You know, in those grocery stores, you get like a prize. We don't have a prize, unfortunately, but thank you so much. Your prize is good quality content. Every day we've been doing this. Today is episode number 89. Tomorrow's episode number 90. Jonathan's watching from Union Square, and Neil Parekh is watching from Virginia. He's the executive producer of our Sunday New York Times read along. Thank you for being here. Todd says, I can assist with PPE supplies. Reach back, Todd says. That's great. Jonathan's tagging a friend. Paula, who also produces the New York Times read along, is watching from Tallahassee, Florida. And then Neil says he's watching from Springfield, Virginia. What an incredibly important topic. I agree. Thank you for being here. Todd is tagging friends. Pavan says, looking forward to the show from Western Massachusetts. And I know that you spent time in Western Mass, Shaheen, you did, right? Leah is watching from Boston, and Venkatesh from India. And Laurie is watching from Westchester County. And Stefan says hello, watching from Ramsey, New Jersey. Laurie's watching from Providence, Rhode Island. Eager to learn together with you. Thank you, Laurie, for being here. Bimal is watching from Cambridge, Massachusetts. We have so many people watching, and we're saying hello to you, Mr. Johnson, and to Professor Pasha. Thank you. And Doug Levy says, I've been volunteering at San Quentin Prison since January 2017. The idea that the prison newsroom is shut down for the duration of COVID-19 has been really hard, but I know it's way harder for the men who are at San Quentin. Let me bring in Mr. Johnson and hear from you a little bit, your story, Mr. Johnson. How did you end up in prison? What was the charge? What was the year? Talk about that a little bit in detail so everybody understands, and then your story from that. Thank you.
Okay, I'll try to shorten it. I came from New Jersey, all right? My sister had called me, and I was practicing to be a monk, and I was on a furlough going back to Asbury Park, New Jersey, all right, to see my family. And she did explain to me that some drug dealers was trying to start her in a store. So I came there, and I talked to the drug dealers, and we negotiated about, they got the wrong person. They thought she was part of the drug cartel that they had in New York City, because there was another store in that area that's similar to it. So they apologized to me about that. So that was stopped. The next thing I noticed, though, but about 3 weeks later, I was training some kids in Montmartre Park in New York, right? 119th Street and 120th Street, all right, of martial arts, right? I wasn't going to stay a long time, but I thought I wasn't going to stay a long time, but I got the life, the animal, the people there, New York or some of them different, they kind of kind at that point I didn't know that. But what happened was that I knew I was coming from the park, and I was standing on the corner talking to some people about their son or their daughter, all right, about martial arts and how it was not only helped them, protect themselves, but it helped them better their mentality, communication with people, all right, in a better way. And next thing I know, two police cars pulled up and pointed their guns at me and said, get against the wall. They came from behind me. I didn't see them. So my reflex is to protect myself. So I knocked one of them down and the other one down. And I took one of the guns, and I see there was peace also. I gave it back to them, and they said, "We got a call that shot was fired on 119th Street, 7th Avenue." All right, and they said, after put me in the car for investigate, they said we'll put you in there for just to talk to you about the situation. I said, what situation? He said, oh, they had a tan jackets at the cops. Person was running this way. So you're the only one that's in the restriction that's in this area that had a tan jacket. So we're gonna question you about it. Right? They didn't look at my hands and let me see. Sometimes when I know I don't use guns, I don't like guns. But I know for a fact, like TV and other things that I've seen in the community, that some kind of gunpowder or something like that be on your hand, you should shot at the. They didn't even look at that. They just handcuffed you, put it in the car. Then they told some guy, they got a call that the officer had got shot. And I heard them say, "Oh, we didn't even know a cop was shot." So anyway, they called the guy there. He came and said I looked like the person that had shot his partner. So they took me down the precinct, they questioned me, handcuffed me to a radiator, and once in a while they hit me, punch me, and all that other stuff. All that stuff. And they finally arrested me for attempted murder of a police officer.
Attempted murder of a police officer, yeah.
Yes, just because I had a tan jacket on, and the 911 tape says black, white, or Puerto Rican. They say they didn't say. He said, "Well, okay, we'll put black, all right, tan jacket, all right." So that's what they arrested me. No other thing, no proof. They said they found a gun in the basement of the building on 119th Street, next to Mars Park, all right. And I'm trying to figure out how they found the gun, and they introduced it into court evidence without having a warrant to go in the building, or even say how they get in the building, who told them that a person was in there. And they said they found it on the floor in the corner. Now, where I was is nowhere in the world that I can fit in a window and crawl in there and then come back out and put a gun in the corner, And nobody, they asked, the lawyer asked, did they see me with a gun? They said no. They said, did they see me talking to somebody in the building? They said no. They said, he also said about, how did you come about to stop William? It wasn't looking suspicious enough? They said no. So everything that could even tie me to the crime, they said no to. So the lawyer says, so you don't have no technical proof that he really did the crime. They wouldn't answer that question. But like I said, they didn't have no evidence. Even our lawyer during the trial, he asked, he asked about who called the 911 tape. They wouldn't tell him. And if the investigator had went to the building or the person that called in saying someone in the hallway, more than likely I would not have did all that time in prison or got found guilty, because he would have seen me and said that I was the person. Just like two of the kids they stopped out of the nine people said that they seen a person running from the cop that had a bald spot like I have right now, and they didn't even try to introduce that to the jury. In fact, they told the kid to get out the courtroom, or told his family to get out the courtroom. because his father asked what time this was supposed to happen, you know, and they wouldn't give him the right time. Matter of fact, they said, if you listen to my minutes, you'll see that they had 3 different times that this is supposed to happen. Not only that, but the police officer said that on the stand that the guy that they was chasing to had an afro. I did not have an afro. And in fact, at that time, I was part of the FOI. FOI means Nation of Islam, or Fruit of Islam. Muslim. I was Muslim at that time. We was not allowed to wear an afro. Our hair was crew cut, a low cut haircut. In the picture that they had, my lawyer showed them and said, "You said he had an afro? Then why, in this picture he just took at the station, shows that he has almost no hair, a crew cut, haircut?" He wouldn't answer that question, all right? The other one said he had a hat on his head. Now, these are 2 officers that had got shot at, have 2 different stories of the person that did the crime, right? So that's where I was at that time. And I got found guilty because of the statements that I just said then. You know.
And so you spent 40 years in prison because of you were identified with the tan jacket, and even though your hair was wrong, they still said you were guilty. Your lawyer couldn't do anything, and there was no. What about the appeals process?
Yes, it was kind of hard because I ain't had no real people to help me. I worked with more so, and we got a thing in prison that we call jailhouse lawyers. You know, they was pretty good. They got me down to court 2 and 3 times, but they really didn't know how to put the paperwork together. See, I could have won it on stop and frisk, where even the judge says even stop and frisk started at 119th Avenue. All right, not my clock, so they can't use that as a stop and frisk. All right, so I had the issue, but my lawyer, for some reason, didn't, really fight the issue, and also the officers also explained that they really didn't have no reason other than the tan jacket to stop.
So, Mr. Johnson, let me just ask Professor Pasha, who runs the Prison Journalism Project at Penn State University. You've met many prisoners who are still in prison, and you hear stories like this all the time, don't you?
I mean, that's the really sad part. I was listening to Mr. Johnson, and so many of the incarcerated men and women that I work with have very similar stories, especially if they're Black or African American. It seems that, when it comes to the justice system, and we're seeing that rage right now, you are guilty before you're found innocent. And then once you're wound up behind bars, you're talking about the appeals process, it becomes even more difficult to prove your innocence. And there's so many issues at play. I mean, just identification and stop and frisk. And so, I mean, I wish I could say that this is a story that is unusual, but it's not. And there's so many men and women that I've spoken to that have had very similar circumstances, just based on the way they look, color of their skin, and wrong place.
Yeah, and this is certainly something that we hear a lot about. But let me ask Mr. Johnson, isn't it true, Mr. Johnson, that everybody who's in prison says that they're not guilty, they didn't do the crime?
Majority of the people, yes, says that. Yeah, for some reason. That's a theme now. So now they're putting on TVs and movies, all over you hear that same thing. Oh, I didn't do the crime, But in my case, you got actually facts, It's then possible, or it's like almost a shame that they can lock a person up just because he had a tan jacket on and not committing the crime, not having the person's name, not asking for identification or nothing. And you could just, I think and still a lot of people said I was arrested, but I believe I was kidnapped. See, when you just throw somebody in the car and take them down to prison, that's just like these guys are driving by, kidnapping people for drugs, or making kids drugs. They throw them in the car, you take them to a house, you question them about how much money they can get. That's what I see with the justice system. You know, they didn't actually have a family in New York or nothing. You know, they just threw me in the car because they had this thing about a antac and didn't even have color of a person. They didn't have a black person. It's just a black, white, Puerto Rican. So that's, I think, instead of being arrested, I was kidding.
Yeah, you say you're using the word kidnapped. For those of you just joining, we're in a conversation with Professor Shaheen Pasha, who's going to wave, who's joining us from Happy Valley, Pennsylvania. Is that right? That's the name of the campus, where the town, I guess, where Penn State is based. Sorry, go ahead.
It's State College, but yes, we call it Happy Valley.
Okay, Happy Valley. And Mr. Otis Johnson, who spent 40 years in prison for a crime he says he did not commit. And as Doug Levy says, who's worked with prisoners, he says that even among the guilty, black men get longer sentences for no good reason. And that's one of the reasons why when people say they're angry at the criminal justice system, that's what they're talking about. One of my guests on my WBAI radio show refused to use the word justice system. She just said it's a criminal system because she feels there's not justice. What do you say, Otis?
Yes, I believe it is a criminal system because, man, and I'm looking at this actually innocent thing also. You know, they say they can help people. That if you notice or not, the average person that really get helped by, I hate to say this, you know, they doing a good job with different people and stuff like that. But the most people that get help is those that has family. You never really seen a person that won a lawsuit that has nobody. You know, that's just like saying, you know, oh, you poor. We'll come and get you later when we have maybe extra time. But right now, we're looking for people that already has money and has family to talk about this situation.
So one of the things
the justice system is really toe up. You know, that's why more people in society today should go and volunteer their time to go inside the prison. You know, they're stopping. I have seen them stop. Quakers have been in New York justice systems, I think, let's see, maybe over 60 years in prison. They even stopping them from coming in from helping the people because they teach them about alternatives to violence, all right? Meditation, discipline, and all these things. The NAACP have been shut down from coming into the prison system because they come and talk to them about the law and how average Afro-American and Spanish person or person of color don't really have no rights in society or when they get inside the prison system. All right, they got a thing what they call pre-release that's supposed to give you all your identification to help you adjust when you get into society. All right, an ID card, birth certificate, and other information that can help you go out there and get you the benefits that you need. But the information they give you is like, I say last time when I get ready to go home, right? They gave me information that they had on file from 1996 or something like that. And I'm leaving 2014. So what would that information give me? They gave me an ID coming out of the prison system that's supposed to last you for three weeks. It lasts me for 3 days. All right, so even the identification that they give you don't last. All right, they give you $40 and that's all.
How much? 40? How much?
$40 in a bus ticket. You know, they do that to everybody that's released from prison. All right, and they've been doing that since, you know, like I say, wow, since the 50s or something like that, even when the Quakers started again.
And where were you in prison? Which facility were you in?
I was in mostly all of them. I was in Sing Sing, Green Haven, Comstock, Attica, Elmira, every prison, almost in the state, until they started building these new prisons, which they might call downstate, upstate, Sullivan. I was in Sullivan, Shawanga. They are new prisons too. And these are some of the prisons that I went in. Every prison I went to, I helped people out. I started the first HIV and AIDS educational program, all right, and also started the first, help build the Quakers program for criminal justice inside the system, for violence, for anger management program, all right. These are the things I did, and I got locked up, put in confined solitary because I helped the person start a nonprofit organization to help children. They say they call it soliciting. How can I solicit when I'm not asking nobody for no money? I'm giving people information, knowledge, how to help children get better in their mentality, their discipline, their way to communicate with each other without having that bullying mentality, all right? But they locked me up because I helped start an organization inside the prison to help people.
Shaheen, as you're listening to all this, I know some of it sounds very familiar to you, in the work you're doing. What should people, you're South Asian like me, our communities are not very well versed in what's happening in America in a lot of areas, and I think understanding the criminal justice system is something that a lot of them are just disconnected to. They believe that what they have seen in terms of pop culture about the fairness of the system, about African Americans. They don't know what happens in this country. There's no understanding of history. What is your message to them?
I think my message to them is to get out of this bubble that this does not touch us. I mean, for me, I became part of this world. I started working on this because two of my loved ones who are South Asian are behind bars. And what that made me realize was just how big of an industry this is and how large an impact this has on society. And I want to kind of make the point that it doesn't matter. I mean, it absolutely, innocence matters, but understand that people are being put away for crimes for decades, for life. And in some cases, in most cases, people are not, if they committed a crime, are very different people in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So this idea of this very punitive system, I think, is also very, very flawed. And it's really based on a lot of biases. You will find people that are of color, especially Black men, who will get way longer sentences. And this idea of, in our community, in the South Asian community, that if somebody is sent away, then they're a lost cause. And I think what Mr. Johnson was saying about family is so important, because having a family network, having a support system is huge for people that are not only coming out, but also for people that are inside, because that sense of loss, not only of their family and their loved ones, but of themselves, is really made far worse when you don't have those external connections, which is why the current situation without visits, with very limited ability to make phone calls, it's really taking a toll. It's a mental health issue as well. So I think from a South Asian perspective, we need to understand that, this does touch all aspects of life. It touches our community for sure. And we can't just sit in this bubble of, just accepting that if somebody goes inside and they're lost. I think that's a huge thing that we need to really realize in our communities.
And thank you. I think that's something that it'll be eye-opening for them to hear that from you about this. Are you confident that teaching journalism to prisoners is helpful to them? Is there research about the writing and things that you're doing?
I mean, prison journalism has a long and storied history. I mean, we've had newspapers in the 1800s. I think the first one was called, I'm blanking on it. It was Forlorn Hope. It was one of the first ones out of a debtor's prison. So what we've seen is that, prison journalism actually gives people tangible skills, aside from writing, but also social skills It allows them to have a mission and a purpose, and it allows information to get outside. And I think one of the things that's really, really important is to understand that when incarcerated, and I don't actually use the word prisoner at all, or inmate, or felon, or offender. I use incarcerated people because I think we have to remember that people, right? And those words oftentimes make it hard. But what you find is when incarcerated individuals tell their stories, that is actually far more powerful in getting people to listen and understand what's happening inside. So especially when we're talking about, concepts of prison reform, for instance, how on earth do you do prison reform if you yourself have never been inside and you don't know? Like, I can interview people as a journalist, but until the guys that I worked with started telling me things and started writing their own articles, I had no idea. And I think that is how you get true reform, when you actually have the voices of the people inside telling you what needs to change, what needs to be fixed, what the experiences are. And as a journalist, training people to understand how to separate fact from fiction and rumor and verify things is really important to be able to do this kind of change. So prison newspapers have been around for a very, very long time, but they started as funding started getting cut, as we became very punitive as a society, starting back in the 80s, the whole super predator concept, right? Where it was less about rehabilitation and more about punishment, and creating it as a means of like making money with the whole prison industrial complex and the private prisons. What we found is those types of things actually benefited people, such as prison newspapers were one of the first things to be cut. There's another way of also keeping people from being able to speak out. And so a lot of those factors came into play.
And we know that Mahatma Gandhi wrote letters and did journalism out of prison himself. Mark says prison is one of the biggest industries out there. And Mr. Johnson, Mark is asking, where is the bus ticket to that you get when you leave prison? He hears that sometimes you're sent out of state.
Yes, you are. Mm-hmm. But I was sent to a Times Square.
And then what did you do? Where was your family? Because part of your story that's interesting to people is that you've been trying to find your family.
Yes, I didn't have no idea really where my family was, other than where I, like I said, started off with Asbury Park, New Jersey. But from there, once I got outside, I learned they was in different places, like Asbury Park. There's another place next to Asbury Park called Neptune. All right, there. Then I found out later when I went down to find out if I can find my mother or father or birthplace or where they was buried at. I found out that it was other places that they could have been buried or sent to down south, like Mississippi, Georgia, and even Philadelphia, But when they sent you from prison, they usually send you to a bus ticket, all right, to almost anywhere. And the bad part about it is that majority of the time, people that live outside of New York City or New York State, you cannot go back to your original home. Like, for instance, I told them I'm from Jersey. They wouldn't give me a bus ticket to Jersey. They say, no, you got to go to a shelter in New York that I never heard of. And
why is that, Otis? Otis, why is that?
They said, I could not go to my hometown. I got to go in New York City, close to where the crime has happened.
Why?
Because that's the law in New York City. They want you to go back to where the crime has happened or close by to it, And matter of fact, I'm so close to the crime in my situation that I work with an organization called Holland Restoration Project that work with the injured people. And right across the street is 1975, building 1975 on 7th Avenue. It's where the cops had got shot at, right there. And I didn't know until my boss, Ricky Jones, explained to me that, the crime that they charge you with happened right across the street, So
And that's where you are? And that's where you are?
Yes,
oh,
that's where I work at. It's a part-time job that an organization called Senior Citizen Program called Department of Agency. They help senior citizens that come out of prison and also other senior citizens that may have been homeless that's looking for a job. They gave me a job. It's like a stifle job. I get like 200 every 2 weeks or something like that.
So how do you survive now in terms of money? You have how are you paying your bills, and how has COVID affected? I know you sent us some photographs. There's COVID in your building, correct?
Yes, 3 people. No, four people.
Yeah. And what do you make of the Black Lives Matter movement, which of course you were already out of prison when it started in 2014, 2015. What do you make of it, and what do you make of all these demonstrations around the country?
I go to them once in a while to listen to, what knowledge they give out about how to adjust with Afro-Americans getting actually killed. Matter of fact, I was looking at the movie when I was in prison, Above the Law, right, where police just, outright kill people. And during the 60s, when I was in Jersey, one of my friends, all right, Afro-American, got shot in the back just because he was running home, and that was Afro-American. And now, Black Lives Matters, it's a good thing, but it should be more focused on giving knowledge to, there's some movies out there now show how you should act when the police stop, even if you're in the car or on the streets, and that should be pushed out more. So these accidents, so-called accidents that they say, or express that I don't recall, when something really happened to them, that they know that they was wrong. That's one of the statements the police officers use, I don't recall. And they gotta fight more to let them recall what they are doing to Afro-Americans. In the car, on the streets.
Yeah, I hear you.
So they won't have to do that state, and get away with outright killing some.
May I ask you, Mr. Johnson, how do you, we spent some time on the phone together. You didn't sound bitter and angry about your fate. 40 years in a crime you say you didn't commit. How are you helping the community? How do you do it? How do you not have that anger that all of us would feel if we were in your shoes?
Oh, wow. Okay. That's really an easy question, because at a young age, my father came to Asbury Park. He talked to me about going to China and learning martial arts. All right. And he explained to me because people are saying that I was the bully and still other people was the bully. So I learned my discipline at a young age, maybe 14, 16, and when I was 17 years old, I was sent to Hong Kong to learn more discipline. All right. And that's what I, use today to help me, keep that peace within. That's the problem. A lot of us don't have that peace within. And like I said before about moral consciousness, that peace within comes when you give to something. Instead of getting angry at a person calling you names, you just ignore it, or change the subject. All right. It helped me to survive. All right. Because I learned how to take, different things that happened to me, to hold it in and I learned to meditate on it instead of react on it. All right, and that's what we got to do too. We go to churches, to the mosques, and all these things like that, but that don't really help us. What we need to do is to give something. See, giving, for some reason, help you grow and help you say, oh, damn, I didn't use my anger out on this. I used my anger on discipline, giving a person food when they are home, all right? Maybe shopping and you see somebody and you realize what kind of clothes they wear and you give them clothes, something that help you think that you help somebody else. And then all that attention that you do and give to other people will come back to you. Like it's a Bible thing in there says, if you feed people or if you clothe people, God will clothe you, or whatever we call our spirituality person, that would help you. So that's what I focus on helping me to help other people. I don't get angry at different things because anger stops your growth. I don't care who you are, anger will stop your growth. Yes, when I got arrested, I cried as a grown man. And if people say they did not cry when they went to prison for something they did or did not do, they're lying. Because it hurts. And everything that you did in life, for some reason, once you get in that cell, comes back to you. Like they had movies that show when a person is dying, they see everything before them. The same things happen when you go to prison. Everything. You be crying about mama, what my mama had and all this stuff. You're gonna curse your mother out, robbed her and all that stuff, but now you want your mama. All this comes back to you. So you gotta learn how to give that back to the people.
I hear you, Mr. Johnson. Thank you. Professor Pasha, any thoughts? I know it's getting late. We want to let you get back to your family as well. Any thoughts, any questions for Mr. Johnson that can help us understand the story and why we need to pay attention to what's going on?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to ask Mr. Johnson, I mean, based on your experience, what do you want people to know about the men and women that are behind bars? I mean, what do you think is the biggest sort of misconception that people have that perhaps they don't, maybe one of the reasons they don't sympathize? What do you think people should know about what people are like behind bars?
Were you able to hear the question?
No, not all the way.
Yeah, it's okay. So the question, if you can tell us, what are some of the misconceptions about life behind bars, and why should people, if I may, Professor Pasha, if they believe that everyone in prison is guilty and deserves to be there, what should they still understand about the system that is unfair? If I think you are guilty, do you still deserve to be treated the way you are treated in the American prison system? Also, Professor Pasha, we should note the staggering statistic. America has 5% of the population of the world and has 25% of the world's prisoners, right? That is stunning, unacceptable in every way.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, what people should focus on is, like I said, to get more people to go back inside the prison so they can see for themselves. See, I can tell you anything, but firsthand knowledge is best, for people to go in there, even though you're going to get searched just like the prisons. Like when you go to the visiting room, the prisons get stripped down or pat down, stripped down coming out, pat down going in. Same thing with your visit. Your visit, they get pat down, and they get pat down seriously, mainly to stop them from coming to see their loved ones. All right? So you gotta also try to find a way that the criminal justice can pass a law for them to not touch so many women or men or young kids, to make them not want to come back to see their loved ones.
So I didn't understand that till just now. So you're saying that part of the reason why they do the security searches is to discourage the family visits because they'll be so upset by the level of security and the pat downs that they will refuse to come. Is that correct?
Yes, indeed. Not only that, but when they bring their packages to them, the packages are being opened and they take some of the food and stuff out. So now the person that's getting the packages are upset. Not only that, but now the person that's getting the packages think the family did not send what they asked for. So they take it out on the family. All right. So you got two confusing factors bumping head at each other. And that's another way for people to stop coming to see their loved one, because now I done sent you a packet, now you cursing me out, not listen to the whole story that happened. I got a list of what I sent you, but you don't believe it. All right. So now they're working on the inmates, the convicts, the inmates, and the family to start confusion against each other. And you need in the systems, better programs in there. They put you in industry and you're making furniture, clothes for big organizations. Like some of these tables that we have are made by inmates. Some of the lockers that you see that people put files and stuff in is made by inmates. And they're all making maybe $13 every 2 weeks or something like that, But they can, give the person more financial support inside the prison so they won't burden their family. See, if you don't have no money really working, you're going to ask your family for money. So, like the coronavirus has messed up people's jobs, their lifestyle, their anger, and all this stuff like that, And it also affects the people inside the prison system, all right? Because they have no money in there, and their family can't give them no money because they lost their job, or they might be sick, or something that's may happen to them to slow the money coming back inside the prison. And not only that, but this is also stopping people from leaving money now because they don't want to touch money like that. So right now the system is bad, and the communication between prison and family is getting lost. People are scared to go in prison.
Look, I know Professor Pasha has to leave, so if you would wait for a minute, Mr. Johnson. Shaheen, thank you so much for being here. I know you've got 3 kids. You've told them to be downstairs and not come upstairs. So, and you're also doing homeschooling and everything else, right?
School is over, thank God,
Okay.
because that was not fun.
So before you go, do you have a message for people watching, and how can they support the Prison Journalism Project at Penn State University, and how can they get involved, and how old, what can people do right now to also so that people understand it's not journalism about prisons, it's journalism from prisons by the prisoners themselves.
Yes, it's teaching them the skills, putting the power of storytelling in the hands of the men and women that are inside. The Prison Journalism Project, we did launched a Medium site. We're going to be migrating it to its own website soon. But right now we are seeking submissions from incarcerated men and women or people who have been impacted by incarceration, family members, because that's a story that needs to be told as well, because the impact is far and wide reaching beyond just behind the prison walls. So we are looking for submissions. We're looking for volunteers. We're looking for grants. We are looking for a whole bunch of things because we're trying to build this and be able to provide these services and teach men and women behind bars. So if anybody is interested, you can find us. We are the Prison Journalism Project at Penn State University. You can also look for us on Medium. Our handle is Prison Journalism Project. You can also send me an email, which is a prisonjourn@psu.edu, and let me know how you want to help. We are always looking for people to help.
Thank you very much. And your Twitter handle is @.
Can I ask her a question?
Please ask her a question, please. Yes.
All right. You were dealing with storytelling, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the prison system. Are you dealing with drama and music on real life stories?
We the specific stuff we teach is journalism, but our the website we've created right now to feature work from inside also includes poetry and fiction, because people express themselves in many different ways. So we are trying to highlight the many different ways people express themselves, whether it's through art or music or journalism, memoir, essay. So all of the above we're looking at right now. But one of the areas we're going to try to develop is actually teaching how to tell stories from inside in a journalistic fashion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaheen. Before you go, we have a question that's come for you.
Yes.
Hello, Shaheen. This is Mustafa Ahmed. I'm very impressed with your work. I wanted to know your opinion on bias in journalism from the political right and left and their different narratives. And how do you inform your students to pursue the objective truth and not to write from the biases we all possess?
That is a fantastic question. I mean, when it comes, yes, this is one of the things I actually teach both behind bars and in my regular classes. The first thing is to acknowledge we all have biases. I think that from anyone to sit there and say they're neutral or they're objective is not true. So when it comes to first recognizing that, it's to understand your biases and then look for ways to actively try to break those biases and to tell the stories as fairly as possible. That can look different many ways. There's some things that I think should be biased about. I think when it comes to racism and human rights, that's not or the type thing. So I think when it comes to the larger issue, it comes to having people that are informed about the issues, not people that are parachuting in, people that are from those communities, people that have taken the time to develop an interest in this. These are all areas that we need in order to tell a story fairly. But yeah, I mean, it's a huge question, and I'd love to talk about it on a whole other thing, but I think in terms of understanding that, one is accepting the fact that we do have biases, and when you are reporting, to acknowledge those biases and do your best to understand the full story, even if it's outside of your comfort zone.
Thank you. And Doug Levy says, I recorded interviews with some of my journalism students from San Quentin prison and few of those San Quentin News editors a few months ago, and I'm going to write them up in the next week or so. The other thing that's so interesting, he says, there's zero recidivism rate among students who among his San Quentin News alumni, meaning people who ran the prison newspaper in San Quentin prison have zero going back into crime, and that's pretty amazing. So thank you, Doug, and everyone should follow Doug on Twitter. He's SF Doug on Twitter, and he also has a really useful coronavirus headline service. Once a day, he'll send you one email with the most important headlines about coronavirus. So everybody, please check that out when you can, and ask him for it by writing Doug@DougLevy.com, or just go to DougLevy.com and check him out. SF Doug, San Francisco Doug. Thank you very much, Doug. And Shaheen Pasha, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. I know it's a busy time for you and everybody else. We are so grateful. We hope you'll come back and talk more about your project. Bring your co-founder with you, especially when you have your website, because there's so much that we don't know about the U.S. prison system, right?
The website is up on Penn State's site, but we'll be migrating the stories very soon. But you can find them on Medium for now.
Okay, so if you just search Prison Journalism Project Penn State, you can find it very easily. And of course, Professor Pasha, Prof Pasha is her Twitter handle. And you should know that I knew Prof Pasha when she was student Pasha, and she studied at Columbia Journalism School. I'm so proud of you and everything you've done. You're awesome. Thank you very much. And Rose says, thank you, Professor Pasha, such an important project. And Rose is one of our producers of the show, and she's been tweeting up a storm. Rose Horowitz 31 on Twitter. Rose Horowitz 31, so everybody should check that out. And Jonathan says, important show, thank you. He's watched for 89 straight days, and so we're very grateful. Thank you, Shaheen. We'll be in touch.
Bye.
Bye. And before we let Mr. Otis go, how are you doing there? Are you okay?
Yes, sir.
You're so patient with me. Thank you. And I'm sorry about this technology. It's not your fault that we're like this. So thank you for being with us. I'm going to show that video that was done about you. May I do that?
Yes, you could.
Okay, so just stand by. I'm going to play this video right now. We'll play about 3-4 minutes of it. It's about 8 minutes, but we'll play 3-4 minutes. It's called Finding My Family After 44 Years in Prison. And this is the story of Otis Johnson.
Last time I saw my family was May 1975. When I was young, I was named the support team of my family.
Sorry, one second. Sorry.
Hope they remember. I haven't seen them in a long time.
Sorry that.
I hope they're there.
I'm going to start again. Sorry about that.
Last time I saw my family was May 1975. When I was young, I was named the support team of my family. We had a good connection. I just hope they remember me. I haven't seen them in a long time. I hope they're there. My name is Otis Johnson. I was in prison from 1975 to 2014 for attempted murder of a police officer. Prison affected me a lot. My reentry was a little bit hard at first because things had changed. The majority of the people was talking to themselves, and then I looked closer and they seemed to have things in their ears. So with iPhones, they called them or something like that. I think in 1998 or something like that, I lost contact with my family. Coming out of prison, I was mainly alone. Like I said, I had no birth certificate, nothing like that. I had no family, no girlfriend, no sisters, no brothers, no people that I could communicate that I had years ago that might could help me adjust into society. One could ask for help from my family. The address I really had was Asbury Park. You from here? Yeah. How long you been here?
All my life.
You know Daddy Moore?
He passed away, right?
No, I hope not. Where's Framewood Avenue?
Yeah.
What happened to the projects?
When last time you was here?
1975.
1975.
I just got out of prison. Doing 40 years. My aunt was Dottie Moore.
I know Dottie, but I don't know if that's the same guy.
She used to have a store on Springwood Avenue. Dottie Moore was like my mother. That's who I went to. Sometimes we got psychiatrists. Psychiatrists got psychiatrists too. There's somebody to talk to them. She was everything to me. That's the name that just first. I'm almost sure it's this one. Problem is, I'm scared. Dottie Moore. I'm looking for Dottie Moore that used to live here. Dottie Moore. Oh, no. They moved. Dottie Moore?
Dottie Moore.
And she used to live in the second house right there. Mm-hmm.
Well, he need to go see Carol Lynn. You need to see Carol Lynn.
I heard that name.
Do you know a man named Otis Johnson? They called him Sonny.
Carol? Wow. Yes, Otis Johnson. They used to call me Sonny. I remember you, but you used to be a tough girl.
She's still
I ain't forget. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Wow. Uh-huh.
Somebody that you know. Good luck to you.
Yeah. Okay.
God bless you.
Right. Huh? You know, trying to find all my cousins and stuff. She knew part of my family and seen some of the people that I socialized with. Young. And I would know, real good boy. You know, I was also a bad boy too.
I know I ain't right, I'm a dog, and all the other things that you heard on the blog. I know I got many flaws, a spoiled little kid that ain't had many chores. I grew up like bam, in the party going ham, I grew up like bam. Everybody gets a grab for the
FOI, Fearless Law, Relationship Law, no application. That means like feral con, alcohol. Because a lot of people got a wrong interpretation of Black Panthers. Blackness. It wasn't bad. It wasn't all bad.
Do you remember Calvin Lane?
She ended this one to teach for people, and they was like right away. One of them was named Calvin. He said my name before I had said myself. Oh, that's that's how I do, Calvin. Yeah.
The game of love gets so ugly, like the best you don't pay at the
I will knock you out. Some of this date that people say Calvin in their minds. Calvin, because he was part of the hood too.
countless living on that endless to my family.
Everybody knows each other around here. Eventually, as I keep talking about all this and stuff like that, it's all gonna come out. Some person will know this person, some person will know that person, and then his family, somebody gonna know somebody in his family, which gonna come out and we're gonna get him in touch.
You got uncle live up on Daggone Hill. Yeah, Robert.
Hello?
Rebecca,
Yeah.
you want to talk to your cousin or not?
Yeah.
You're talking to him, Rebecca.
Oh, okay. How you doing?
I'm okay, kid. You know,
That's good.
I've been trying to find everybody. I'm in Asbury Park right now. We over.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
Give Uncle Robert a call, okay?
Okay, I will.
Hi, Robert. I'm with Otis right now, and he's interested in seeing you guys. He hasn't seen you, obviously, for, 40 years. And I was wondering if you'd be interested. They'd love to see you, they said.
Okay.
Oh, yay, he's really excited.
I'm still feeling the flaws that they don't really remember. I don't know how they're going to act, or if they're bad at me, or if they're happy. I'm trained. I was thinking about all that stuff. I think I got to meet them personally, show them this is No, you ain't. No, you ain't. Oh, see. All right.
I love you. When I saw you in the paper, oh man, come on in.
Oh, I don't remember you ever being in this house.
Yeah, okay. You the one that let me in the door. And God delivered him back to me in one piece, the same Otis. When you called today, well, he know I had to kiss him. Otis is a piece of my life. You express as much as the guy that was on the front line, you know what I'm saying? And for you to be able to remotivate is a good thing for you. It's one of the best things that you can speak of, being a minister, but it is good because you get a chance to talk to people. You could give them the story of real life behind those walls. The old song used to say, yesterday is dead and gone, but tomorrow is still around. So you live like hell for the day so you can get a chance to see tomorrow. You're part of me. I wish I could take you in and just stay here, but I'm overloaded. And I'm 84 years old, more than 85, but I can still take a breath. Who's captain up? Not mine. Oh, you're captain. Oh, your captain.
I don't forget nothing.
Yesterday is dead and gone, and tomorrow's out of sight. And it's sad to be alone. Help me make it through the night. Lord, it's sad to be alone. Help me make it through the night.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. I only wanted to play 3 minutes, but we played all 8 minutes because it was so moving. That was taken a couple of years ago.
Yes.
How do you feel when you see that? And what happened to your family? Have you ever been able to catch up with them?
Yes, the two people you seen, that was my aunt and my uncle, right? My aunt passed away first, all right? Then my uncle passed away 3 weeks after she passed away. So I lost contact with both of them. But they had introduced me to one of my cousins.
So those people we just saw, they both passed?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God.
Yeah, that messed me up a little while, because that was the only contact I had. Then I look back on my my notes, and I remember a cousin, that they gave me a phone number to, and she called me. So I'm trying to get in contact with her now, on that situation.
People may find it hard to understand, Otis, how you lost track of your family. I know you were away from 75 to 2014, but they just moved away from Asbury Park? What happened?
Some of them moved away from Asbury Park. Some of them are still there. But what really happened was, because I was like a troubleshooter inside the prison system, helping people, they told my family that it was, when they came to see me, that I was not in that prison. So they went back home and they didn't know how to contact me. And they told my people that they don't know what they don't have the information or cannot give the information out as to what prison he went to.
So even though you were still in that prison, they pretended you were not there.
Yes.
Oh my God. Mr. Otis, can you just adjust your camera a little bit? We're missing the top of your head. Do you mind?
Okay.
There you go. There you go. We want to see your full face. Thank you.
Right there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. So they, in order to spite you, in order to punish you, they told your family when they came to visit you that you were not there anymore and they don't have a forwarding address or wherever you are, correct?
Right, yes. And I went to, I think it was Clinton I went to, right? And they had sent me back to Clinton. And I had left Clinton, I think about 7 or 8 months or something like that. And when I got there, they had pictures of my sister and her kids. She had got 2 kids, you know? And the envelope wasn't even open, and they handed it to me that night saying, this is your mail. And it was a mutual old address that my sister had, you know, pictures in the old address. They kept it at Clinton.
So when you went back many years later, they found an old envelope with the photographs your sister had sent you before.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
God. So you're already being punished for this crime you didn't commit, and then you're being punished inside the system, and that's in addition to whatever violence and disease and other things are in the prison system already.
Yes. Yes.
And that
See,
is so sad.
They do that to disturb you, to make you go into mental health, or to make you get angry, or to make you not adjust. But I just ignored everything and kept moving, you know, kept helping myself while I was in prison.
Thank you for doing that. Folks, we only have a couple of minutes left with Mr. Johnson. If you have a question for him, please post it. We'll read him the question. He's coming into us on WhatsApp right now, and we're getting to talk to him, and you can see he has a spirit about him that he wants to help people. He works with our friend Hemant Wadhwani, serving Indian vegetarian cooking to the homeless in Harlem every Wednesday. He's been doing it since he got out of prison, and he's been helping people that way. Instead of being bitter and angry, he's helping so many people. So if you have a question, please post it. We'll ask him right now. And we're just so grateful that he would spend time with us like this. We want to learn. I want to learn about the racial inequalities in this country. And one of the ways to learn it is to understand the prison system and to learn it that way. There was a comment earlier, Mr. Johnson, about prison and movies. I don't know if you watch any prison movies anymore, or you don't want anything to do with it. Is there any movie that you've seen that captures life in prison, or a book that captures life in prison accurately?
No, not so far, you know, not so far. I think the closest was, oh man, what was that? Oh, I forgot the name of it. When the guy escaped.
Oh, The Shawshank Redemption.
Yes, that was really close, because it shows also when you, a lot of people came home from prison and they didn't know how to adjust because they didn't have no information outside. And that's why I was talking about earlier, how you got old information inside, you know, and you're going out there with the old information, think you're going to survive, you know. But if you don't communicate with some organizations, like I had communication with Fortune Society, which deals with housing. I had communication with Exodus, which deals with programs. All right, Osborne Association, which deals with Also drug programs and things like that. Different churches, like different other churches in Manhattan called I forgot the many churches that did it, but there's a couple of churches out there that helped me when I came out, and so that's the people you gotta look for when you come out of society. But a lot of people are scared to really communicate.
Yeah, you're right. Mark says, sounds like they basically try to strip you of your dignity when you're inside prison. What advice do you give for others trying to get out of the system, or once they're sent home? What do you tell them? How do you tell them from going back into or falling into a life of crime or poverty? Is it automatic that they will have a life of poverty?
Oh yeah. At first it is. I have a hard time in society, and plus, you got to be really crazy to go into crime today because of the technology they have. Today you got cameras all over. No matter where you go, a store, a housing complex, there's gas stations. Anywhere you go, you got cameras. Not only that, but you have people that's on all kinds of drugs now, and they're going to give you up to get a fix or get some money. So it's too hard to, really go into crime. But we don't think about that. We're just so high up of all different drugs or souped up on, I did this when I came out. I have seen people did 25 years, 30 years, came out of prison, and the next week they did an armed robbery and got caught inside the daggone store or the bank because they locked the doors because of computer. And they didn't think about that part, how society had just in the computer aspect. That's the knowledge we don't get when we in prison. We get a little bit, but not enough to go out there to go right back to the place where we first started out, got in prison.
Thank you for sharing that. Just to remind everyone, you were in prison. You went into prison in 1975 and didn't come out till 2004. That means 2014. I'm sorry. I just cannot imagine just how the world had changed. In the video we saw, there was a little bit about how you were, you saw people talking to themselves because of the iPhone, but traffic has changed. In some ways, New York City has become a little better, maybe in terms of pollution and all of that has gotten a little better, maybe. I don't know, street crime, maybe a little less, but there's still things that are recognizable and not recognizable at all about modern life, right?
You got that right. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We have a couple of comments here. Nisha says, please convey my gratitude to Mr. Johnson for sharing his story, and I pray that he stays well and encourages people to believe in the higher authority.
That's what I'm talking about. Yes. Thank you, Carisha.
And Neil says, Mr. Johnson, thank you for spending this time with us tonight. I didn't know anyone who had been in prison. It's part of my privilege now with it is part of his privilege that he didn't know anybody because he was, like me, he's overeducated, South Asian. We don't have people in our community that we know. There are obviously South Asians in prison and all of that, but I'm just saying both mine and Neil's family, we don't have people. And that's what he's saying. Now, with your permission, I feel like I do. Thank you for broadening my view of the world.
Okay. You're welcome. Thank you.
We have time for a couple more questions and comments. Blue Water Pine says, how do we create jobs of dignity for prisoners?
You asking me that question?
How do we? Yes, he's asking you that question.
You try to, if you have an organization, if you know somebody have an organization or a business, all right, that can hire people come out of prisons. It's best to hook up with churches and different organizations. Like I named a few, like Osmer Association, cases, let's see, Fortune Society, or any organization that supposed to be working with reentry. Look at the word reentry. All right, reentry is all over the world for people that coming out of prison. And if you have employee like me, I'm trying to start my own nonprofit organization. Now, my organization will also not only try to house people, but give them program. But not only that, but the people that's already out, I'm trying to hook up that has maybe a GED or college degrees that has upfront knowledge on reentry, so they can get a job in my organization to help the people that's in prison. So what you do is refer people that you know in prison to somebody that you know that have jobs, and the government give them money to hire people that's coming out of prison or jails. So they give you extra money if you're hiring somebody coming out of jail.
Thank you. Stephen says, Mr. Johnson, thank you for sharing your beyond powerful story with all of us. We are also lucky to have never experienced what you have. Many of us will keep sharing your information to try and do something to try and help you find your remaining family members. Bless your big heart, says Stephen to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, people that's watching.
Yeah.
And you too.
Thank you. How can people help you? Do you have a nonprofit that is able to collect money on your behalf? What can people do to help you? Where can they find you? What can they do?
Okay, I have what you call that, GoFundMe, Otis Johnson, GoFundMe page.
Okay, it's called a GoFundMe page, right? So I'm going to go look for it for just a second.
Otis Johnson, GoFundMe.
Yep. Okay, I'm going to try to find it so that we can talk about it. And what do you think of what is happening in Washington, D.C.? Do you pay attention to politics at all?
Very little. I'm so interested in helping common people. I try not to get into politics too much, even though I went to Albany's, where majority prison system in New York City is monitored with. But I didn't talk to too many people that's into Washington. I know people that went there for different marches about, stop the violence and all that different kind of stuff. But
is this your page, Otis Johnson? Yes. This looks like you. How do people know that the money will go to you when they see something like this?
Because it goes straight to my bank, I think.
So you have seen money. So for example, it says in the last 2 days, somebody sent you $10, somebody sent you $5. Have you seen that money come into your account?
I didn't check, but I usually check and see in the majority of the time, 95% of the time the money come to me, because like all these, like I bought a set for computers and stuff like that. I got a set of computers. I bought, what you call that thing? A printer, all that. But now I got to learn how to put it all together. Like I could have been on it today, but I don't know how to put all that stuff together. And I mainly bought it so that I can put it in my organization. So the money is coming in, and I'm spending it on, stuff that can help me with my organization.
Thank you. So I'm going to make sure that people hear about this and people can help you, Mr. Johnson. So everyone, if you just search Otis Johnson and search the fund, GoFundMe, Otis Johnson, yes. You can find his page. Make sure you find this particular page and make sure that you are making a donation. It will help him. As you know, he's going to now use the money to help other people and help us nonprofit. So thank you very much for anybody who does make a donation. And I know many of us will be doing that going forward. So I will let you go. You've been very patient. You sat with us for almost 2 hours, and you're amazing. You've got a great heart. And I would be so angry at the moment, Mr. Johnson, about how African Americans are being treated, how you yourself have been treated, but somehow you're finding the ability to carry on.
Okay.
No, I see you. I got you. I got you.
They cut us off.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, all right.
Okay. So you can just say goodbye if you like to everybody who's watching, Mr. Johnson.
You're welcome.
Go ahead. Do you want to say goodbye?
Okay.
All right. Do you want to say goodbye?
No, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, do you want to say goodbye? Do you have a final message for everybody?
All right. Yes, thank you very much, people in the world, for listening to my story. And stay tuned for more information on YouTube about me and how I'm developing myself and helping other people in society.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother, for letting me be on your show.
Thank you. And once the coronavirus is over, I'm going to come to your apartment and we're going to do the story with the proper setup, so you don't have to talk on your phone like this. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
We also give food out in Brooklyn at 1139 Bushwick Avenue in Brooklyn. Give food out to homeless people and anybody that's has problems with the virus.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much. And thank you again. I'm just going to turn this off so he can get back to his evening. He was, he really opened my eyes to so much of the side of America that we don't know and we don't see. And as both Neil and Stefan said, we have privilege, many of us do, and we are now exposed and we're more aware of some of these issues, and that's what we're trying to cover in this show. Thank you all for watching. It's been 89 straight days with the pandemic and the lockdown in New York. I've been able to do this only because of the support of all of you, for the wonderful messages you send in every day. And I'm so grateful to all of you. We're live every day on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and on LinkedIn. This Tuesday, our 90th show, we're going to be live at 12:15 p.m. That means we're going to have a daytime show, 12:15 p.m. We'd love to have you join us. We're going to be talking to Dean Choi, Augustine Choi, of Cornell, Weill Cornell Medicine, and he is the dean and the provost for medical affairs at Cornell University, and he's going to be with us from 12:15 p.m. And I know you will learn a lot about the virus and what's happening, as well as also issues that he cares a lot about around what's happening in America today. So please follow him on Twitter. He's Augustine MK Choi, at Augustine MK Choi, and his Twitter, and that's his Twitter handle. And please do join us tomorrow at 12:15 p.m. in New York. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, we'll be talking about voting rights. On Thursday, we'll have one of our Ask the Doctor segments. And on Friday, we'll talk about Black journalists and the special role that they play in American life, as well as the special problems that they face as journalists in America. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you to our great producers. Our producers are Vandana Menon and Rose Horowitz, who do an amazing job and help us put this together. So many people saying hello and thank you, including Blue Water Pines. Great show, says Mark Lee, who was a guest on our show. He taught us how to be an ally. Blue Water Pine says, bless you both. And we got you, Otis. I will tell him that. He will be happy to hear. Everyone, if you can, just make a donation of $5 on the GoFundMe. Search up GoFundMe and Otis Johnson. You know that he would be so grateful. It will make a meaningful difference in his life. Even the price of a cup of coffee will help him. So please make a donation if you can. I know I will. I'm so grateful to him. And a reminder that we have two sponsors that we want to thank. Before I go, I will do what I've been doing now, because Kimberly Crenshaw, Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, who coined the term intersectionality, said to me on my WBAI radio show, say their names. Say the names of the people who've been killed in police brutality and police violence in this country. So we're going to say their names in just a minute. Before that, we want to thank our sponsors, Art & Co. Please support Art & Co. that's doing very special work as the world's largest online art auction, fundraising for COVID-19 victims. artandco.net. Even if you're not an art collector, you know an art collector, and check them out on Instagram, check them out on Facebook. 6 charities will benefit, as will lots of artists whose work has been donated. So please check them out. And also, we want to thank our sponsors at Muckrack Academy, who are working with me to create a free Fundamentals of Social Media course for everybody. It says journalists, but everybody can benefit. Free certification. It starts next week, and you can book your spot today. mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. Please join if you can. You know someone in your life would benefit from that. mrac.co/social. 3,500 people have signed up already, and I know you would benefit from checking that out. So mrac.co/social. Before I go, 2 things. We're going to read their names, and I want to tell you that we had on this show the writer known as Sapphire. She's the poet and author of Push, that became the movie Precious, the Oscar-winning movie Precious. And she said in our show, she said how she has brought into the public gaze women who've been marginalized by sexual abuse, poverty, and their blackness. Through art, I have sought to center them in the world. And Sapphire is now on Twitter, and you can follow her on Twitter. She's Miss Saff, MSSAPPH, Ms. Saff on Twitter. She's brand new on Twitter. She's just a handful of followers, so you can be an early follower of this amazing writer. The big anniversary of the book is coming up in next year, and she's got new books coming out. So please do follow her. She's a powerful voice on Twitter, powerful new voice on Twitter. So Ms. Saff on Twitter. She's the author of the novel Push, that became the Oscar-winning movie Precious. So please do check that out. And then I want to read the names of the men and women who died in police violence, who've been killed. And we're basing this off of the Time magazine cover that was made by Titus Kaffer for Time magazine. And on the border, you can see the names. And this painting is based on this photo. As you can see, a young George Floyd with his mother, Larcenia Floyd. Larcenia Floyd. Just an amazing photograph, so moving. And to see this juxtaposed with this is so, so tough. So here are the names in Time magazine's list. The names are Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jerame Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Stewart, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Callan Rockmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castillo, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And that, of course, there's so many other people, Amadou Diallo, and go all the way back to Emmett Till. These are all people killed by violence in this country that is so unacceptable on so many levels, and that's why people are protesting. When someone tells you that it's about the looting or anything else, that's not the story. It's about the anger and frustration that people feel. And watching today the story of Mr. Otis Johnson tells you how unfair the system is. Whether you think he's guilty or not, nobody should be treated that way, the way he was treated for 44 years. And they went out of their way to make sure that he's not connected with his family. They didn't, when his family would visit, they said he's left the prison, and then they just lost touch. His own sisters, his own family, his own mother passed while he was in prison, 44 years. So, so sad, incredibly painful to think about. We have a few more comments coming in, so many others. Blue Water says, Otis, have a beautiful life. Great interview. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. And so many other people that we're all thinking about right now. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for your support. I'm so grateful to all of you for watching and for being here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tomorrow is our 90th straight show. We're going to turn 100 in 10 days. What do you suggest we do? Contact us and email me. You see my contact. We're looking for story ideas. We're looking for guests, and we're looking for sponsors. Thank you very much to our sponsor also, Scroll.in, one of India's leading culture, arts, and news websites. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.